In today's class, we will be going through the 2015 UK past paper, the GCSE paper, and we'll be doing questions 1, 3, and 5, which means question number 2 and 4 will have to be done on your own. Okay. So getting started, you'll have to log into your classroom, Google Classroom, and come into classwork, and we'll be starting off with the 2015 UK past paper. So you open it, get the Word document over there. You can say click on this, open a new window, and immediately download the paper. Okay, so once you download the paper, you can answer your questions in the paper itself, not necessary for you to print it or anything. On the paper itself you can answer it. So it has been downloaded over here. Just open it up, and you can start the question start the question paper. So this is the 2015 UK paper, and okay, so the first thing we'll be doing is clicking enable editing, allows us to edit the paper. And so this is the 2015 paper. Let's move on to the first question. So over here the scenario is given to us. It says Sarah is a photographer. She works at her studio and on the move. So she's a person who's traveling a lot. She uses digital devices for her photography business and hosts her own blog. Okay, so for this entire paper, this entire paper is based on this particular scenario. Okay, so she's a photographer, works in a studio, she's always on the move. So she uses digital photographs for her photography business, and she also has her own blog. Okay, so moving on to the first question, they have given us 4 different desktop computers. Okay, and they've given us the specifications as well over here. Okay, so let's answer the first question. So since this is a paper that we are doing on the computer itself, since it's a soft copy that we are working on, and normally if you're working on the hard copy, you're supposed to be putting cursors like just as they have mentioned over here. But since we're working on the soft copy over here, we'll be just writing our answer over here. Okay, so Sarah wants a new desktop computer. Which one of these computers has the most RAM? Okay, so we come to the 4 computers. Which one has the most RAM? 512 MB, 6 GB. This is having 1 GB. This is having 8 GB. Okay, so we do know that GB is a higher value than MB. So the answer is going to be desktop D. It has 8 GB of data. Okay, so we just write here answer is D. Which one of these computers would allow Sarah to store her photographs on an optical disc? So when you speak about optical disc, we are talking about either a CD, a DVD, or a Blu-ray. Optical disc means a disc which uses the light to read and write data. Okay, so we have CD, DVD, and Blu-ray. Those are the 3 types of optical discs. So we need to check which one of these computers supports optical discs. So you can see computer A supports DVDs. Desktop B is supporting a memory card. A memory card is not optical, it is flash. C does not support anything. D is also supporting SD card, and we do know that SD card comes under flash memory, not optical. So the answer is going to be A, desktop A. So let's put here desktop A. The third question, which one of these computers provides the highest quality video output? So got to go back to the 4 computers. Computer A is having a video output of 1024 by 768. This is the resolution. Okay, so this particular desktop, its monitor can accommodate 1024 dots by 768 dots. That's good. Desktop B is having an even higher value. Desktop C is having an even higher value, and you come to desktop D, it's having the highest value, 2560 by 1440. So the best video output is going to go into desktop D. Okay, so we put our answer D here. The next question goes on to say Sarah's current computer has low screen resolution. State 1 health risk of using a computer with low screen resolution. So resolution is basically a count of how many dots are there on the screen. Okay, so we do know that when the number of dots are less, the quality of the image is very poor. Okay, the image would appear kind of blurry. You may not be able to see the text on the image very clearly. Okay, you may have to spend some time to understand what the text is trying to say. Okay, that's when the resolution is low, because the resolution is low, as I told you, the number of dots are fewer. The number of dots are fewer. The detail of the image is not clearly shown. Okay, So when she uses a computer with a lower screen, obviously the display is not going to be very clear, image is not going to appear very clear, text is not going to appear very clear. So they have just told us to state, so we can simply say she may strain her eyes, okay, because when things don't appear very clear, when they appear a bit blurry, she's going to have to put an effort and try and understand what's on the screen. So she may strain her eyes, okay. Moving on to the next question. Sarah uses her computer to edit a photograph. She upgrades the graphics card to improve the screen resolution of her computer. List two other features that could be upgraded to make it easier to edit photographs. So she has already done one thing. She has upgraded her graphics card. She has put a better graphics card, so that will improve the screen resolution. So they're asking us two other features that could be upgraded inside the computer to make it easier to edit photographs. So something else that we could talk about is the amount of RAM. Okay, you can say the RAM capacity. Okay, you can simply say the RAM chip, or you can say the RAM memory, RAM capacity can be upgraded, because when the RAM is higher, the computer can work with higher resolution files. It can work with bigger image files. Okay. Then once you increase your RAM, it is also important you have a powerful processor. Okay, so you can say the processor. Okay, she can also upgrade her processor. Okay, so you know what is the processor? The processor converts data into information. Okay, so first you should be knowing this. In chapter 3 of your textbook, you would have learned that data is taken from the RAM and given to the processor. So if you do have a large RAM, you also need to have a good enough processor so that it can quickly or immediately convert data into information. So if you have a very large filed image, or an image with a high amount of graphics, if your processor is very slow, it's going to take a very long time for the computer to read that image. Basically, and then if you make a small change to the image, it's going to take a very long time for your computer to render that change. Okay, so you need to also have a very powerful processor. Okay, then you can also talk about she should have maybe you can talk about the storage of a computer. She can upgrade the storage of her computer. That is something else that also can be upgraded. Okay, then moving on to the next question. If I may just show you all the marking scheme to show you all if there are any other answers that are coming over here. This is question number 1C. So it speaks about processor, which we said. RAM, it spoke about your computer's motherboard. That is something else. Storage, we spoke about. Optical drive, which is once again coming under storage. The monitor, the screen size, that's a good thing. A larger monitor will allow her to work with larger images, or images with more resolution in them, isn't it? She can use a better mouse or a better use a graphics tablet, user interface. So these are various answers that the examiner will be accepting. Okay, but you cannot speak about screen resolution, or now you can speak about screen unless you have explained what it is. Okay, you can't say screen, you should be saying monitor. Then the question paper, moving on to the next one, it says which one of these is a peripheral device that could be used to edit a photograph. So your answer cannot be memory card, your answer cannot be mouse, cannot be yes, it can be mouse. Okay, the mouse is a peripheral device that can be used to edit a photograph. Okay, so when you say peripheral devices, what we mean is we mean input, output, or storage devices. Okay, so to edit a photograph, you will definitely be requiring a mouse. Okay, the answer cannot be printer, and answer also cannot be USB port. Moving on to the next question, it says list 3 wired methods of connecting a peripheral device to a computer. So when you want to connect a peripheral device, nowadays the most common wired method that we use is USB cable. Okay, one of the most common method is USB cable. Then when it comes to, for example, a printer, printers use a cable which we call FireWire cable. Okay, printers have a cable which we call FireWire. One end is USB, the other end is a bit different. We call that cable a FireWire cable. Then another cable that can be used, for example, to connect the connection between the monitor and the CPU. We can use something which we call a VGA cable. Okay, you can also talk about HDMI cable. Okay, then another device that could be used, you can talk about micro USB cable. Okay, so these cables are wired methods of connecting peripheral devices to a computer. Okay, so if you check the marking scheme, answer goes as over here. You can see USB, Firewire, Ethernet, audio, the aux cable. Okay, so there are various answers that the examiner will be accepting. Okay, moving on to your next question. It says, give one disadvantage of storing photographs locally rather than online. So when we say locally, what we are talking about is saving the photographs on her computer's local storage. That is maybe her hard disk or her pen drive or an optical disk. Okay, that's what we mean by locally. So they are saying one disadvantage of storing photographs locally. Very simply, you can say if she stores it locally, if the photos are stored locally on a device, she would be able to access the photos only on that particular device. Is it clear? So if she uses her local storage, the files will only be available on that device. Instead, if she saves it online, no matter what device she uses, she can always access her files. Okay, so if you do check the marking scheme, it speaks about the fact that local storage is limited. There is more storage available online. We spoke about this, no remote access. And also in online, there are better backup methods. Okay, so if you lose your data online, backup methods, backup is automatically done, and there are better chances of you recovering your files when you do it online rather than using your local storage. Okay. Then moving on to question number F, it says Sarah uses a router in her studio. State the purpose of a router. Now a router has many functions. Okay, so I'll just put down the one of the best answers that you can say is, you can say the router is used to connect the digital devices in her studio to the internet service provider. Okay, so she will be having digital devices in her studio, maybe her desktop, maybe her laptop or smartphone, all that. Now all these devices, when she wants to connect it to the internet, she can connect it to the internet service provider. She can connect to the internet using a router. Okay, so in order to connect to the internet, she needs to have a connection to an internet service provider, isn't it? She has to have an internet connection in office. So her router is the device that will connect to the internet service provider. Is it clear? So her devices will connect to the router will connect to the internet service provider, and then in return she will have access to the internet. The router does have other functions as well. For example, the router will store the IP addresses of all the devices connected to it. Another function of the router is the router will decide which route the data should take. Okay, once the data comes to the router will decide where the data should go. Then another function of the router is converting analog signals into digital signals using a modem which has been built inside it. Okay, like this, the router has various other functions. Let me just show you something else. It says detect data on network traffic, that is one. To allow devices to share an internet or intranet connection. Okay, so we spoke about this, allowing internet access. To allow devices to share data. Okay, so these are some of the answers the examiner will be accepting. Moving on, it says Sarah uses a password to access her router. Give two features of a strong password. Okay, so when we speak of a strong password, we need to say the password should be more than 8 characters in length. Okay, that is for sure. Then we can also go on to say the password should consist of uppercase, lowercase, and lowercase characters. Uppercase and lowercase characters. You can also go on to say it should consist of special characters, it should consist of numbers. Okay, it should not be a easily guessable word. Okay, these are then another one you can say is password should be regularly changed. Okay, so these are features of a strong password. Okay, if you just go through the marking scheme, you can see some of the answers that your examiner is accepting. Okay, so in the next video, I'll be doing question number 3. As I mentioned earlier, question number 2 will be done on your own. Okay, kind of a homework. Okay, in our next video, we'll be moving on to question number 3.